And now a retelling of an anime where an orphan who was bullied became a god after his parents were killed. This is the second part. You can watch the first one at the link in the description. And before you watch, write any comment and you will move on to the next video. Also don't forget to put a like and subscribe to the channel. Enjoy watching. Agreeing to mutual combat on the ground, Mirai is armed with red arrows and Metropolitan is armed with white arrows as they gradually move closer to each other while taking turns shooting and dodging. As their duel unfolds, Metropolitan reflects his own personal values. In the past, Kanade displayed his affection for Rei by decorating her bedroom with flowers and aiding her in the tennis court due to their socio-economic status. Rei was invited to go on a date with a boy, but a possessive Kanade begged Rei to stay. Rei stumbled and fell off the balcony, suffering a cerebral contusion from hitting her head on a stone before being cushioned by the flowers. After keeping Rei's corpse in a freeze chamber, Kanade met Miza for the first time. In the present, Susumu secretly exposes the duel to the public via live streaming, though the location remains censored. Metropolitan proclaims that he will eliminate poverty and inequality if he becomes the successor, though this means that the poor and ugly will be killed. As Mirai and Metropolitan inch even closer, Metropolitan prepares to make an underhanded move. Initially believing that he is not fighting the real Metropolitan, Mirai has a sense of clarity when Metropolitan briefly shows his face as Kanade. Mirai suddenly charges with his red arrow at Metropolitan, but it is revealed that Metropolitan was previously shot with a red arrow by someone else. In order to prevent Metropolitan from shooting his white arrow, Mirai uses his wings to block Metropolitan's field of vision and grabs onto Metropolitan's right hand. Instead, Metropolitan uses his left hand to stab Mirai, but Mirai's red motorsport costume proves to be impenetrable. Saki then grabs onto Metropolitan's left hand, allowing Mirai and Saki to link together while binding Metropolitan. Making peace with himself as being a hero, Nanato uses his remaining strength to walk with his rifle towards Metropolitan, who confesses that he has been fighting in honor of Rei. As Nanato pulls the trigger, Metropolitan is finally shot to death, having nowhere to run or hide. Mirai and Saki take Nanato to the hospital, where Nanato eventually succumbs to his terminal cancer. Before carrying Nanato to the celestial realm, Barrett gives Nanato's red arrow and wings to Saki. Engaged detectives Masaya Hoshi and Manami Yumiki conduct an investigation on the identities of the remaining god candidates after the death of Kanade. Mirai and Saki are unaware that Kanade was previously shot with a red arrow by Susumu, who compelled Kanade to target Mirai in the first place. After reviewing that Saki has 3 red arrows and 3 wings, Mirai also racks his brain over which of the other 4 remaining god candidates took Kanade's acquired 4 wings, 4 red arrows and 1 white arrow. Mirai and Saki eat curry for breakfast. The 6 remaining angels have a meeting since half of the god candidates have been eliminated. While eating egg sandwiches for lunch, Mirai and Saki learn that Susumu publicly exposed himself as a god candidate and admitted to broadcasting Metropolitan's defeat. After explaining the role of the god candidates, Susumu says that he lived a lonely life and attempted to overdose on sleeping pills prior to meeting first-rank angel Penema. Having felt exhilarated after witnessing the duel between Mirai and Metropolitan at Minamino Amusement Park, Susumu encourages the public to track down the remaining god candidates and vote for whoever should become the successor. Susumu publicly nominates Mirai to become the successor. On a tropical island, a god candidate named Yuri Temari learns from her second-rank angel Yazali that the potential successor might make the god candidates cease to exist. Still affected by Mirai's previously shot red arrow, Saki wishes to run away with Mirai, though he reassures her that their real identities will not be discovered since they were only seen in their motorsport costumes. Later on, Masaya locates Mirai, though Saki accidentally shoots her red arrow at Manami. Masaya wishes to protect instead of capture Mirai and Saki, while Manami had figured out their real identities. Mirai and Saki are brought to Masaya and Manami's apartment and are given secure smartphones, eventually convincing Mirai and Saki to collaborate with Masaya and Manami. After Masaya and Manami begin to understand the role of the god candidates, it is revealed that Yuri has been already captured. Saki also equips Manami with wings and a red arrow. They look further into Mizukiyo, who recently started dating Sayuri shortly after Kanade's death. Mirai and Saki confront Mizukiyo in a park, in which Mirai shoots his red arrow at Mizukiyo, compelling Mizukiyo to be an ally. After Mirai prevents Shuji Nakami, another god candidate, from compelling his older brother Osamu to commit suicide in their bedroom, Mizukiyo admits that he lied about being a god candidate after first-rank angel Aguro appears behind Shuji. Having a strong belief in euthanasia, Shuji gradually compelled his hospitalized grandfather, divorced father and cheating mother to die peacefully after shooting his red arrow at each of them. After Mizukiyo puts in his 2 cents by explaining his prior friendship with Kanade, a somewhat convinced Shuji refrains from compelling Osamu to commit suicide. Mirai, Saki and Mizukiyo bring Shuji and Osamu to Masaya and Manami's apartment. There is still one god candidate yet to be identified. Shuji says that people are the result of worldly passions fueled by desire, though Nasse says that desires make people happy. After making a public appearance in their motorsport costumes, Mirai and Saki meet with Susumu in the atmosphere, persuading him to help them identify the last god candidate. Meanwhile, Revel relays this information to Yuri, who is being held in protective custody. With some discreet help from Nasse and Manami, Yuri manages to escape from being held in protective custody. In the woods, Susumi transfers wings to Yuri, who goes with Mirai and Saki to Nasse and Manami's apartment. Aguro explains the powerful role of the successor, who will reside in the celestial realm with the angels and watch over the humans on Earth. Disagreeing with Shuji's idealism of encouraging suicide, Mirai believes in providing hope instead. Susumu remotely suggests to vote for whoever should become the successor, and the majority decide to vote for Shuji. Elsewhere, Professor Emeritus Gaku Yanida, another god candidate, talks to Special Rank Angel Muni about eating his final dinner while reflecting that his despair for humanity is paradoxically his aspiration for humanity. Mizukiyo and Osamu stay with Nasse and Manami. Mirai, Saki, Susumu, Yuri and Shuji make a public appearance in Yurakucho, where they are met by Muni. However, Gaku will not show himself until the others share their thoughts with Muni on whoever should become the successor. When military helicopters approach Mirai, Saki, Susumu, Yuri and Shuji, Gaku contacts Prime Minister Suzuki, urging him to refrain from attacking the other god candidates. Suzuki then orders the military helicopters to withdraw. Each of them broadcast their worldview in becoming the successor. This includes euthanasia for Shuji, hedonism for Yuri, leisure for Susumu, happiness for Saki and Nixon for Mirai. As Mirai, Saki, Susumu, Yuri and Shuji regroup back at Yurakucho, Gaku finally shows himself as the last god candidate. Theorizing that humanity invented the concept of a divine entity, Gaku reveals that he has previously written about denying the existence of spirits and souls, which cannot be proven through scientific observation. Proclaiming that the age of prayers has now come to an end, Gaku publicly debunks the concept of a divine entity, referring to it as a fading creature. Meanwhile, military snipers have targeted the 6 remaining god candidates from the shadows. After Gaku believes that humanity would be better off without a successor, Shuji opts to side with Gaku. Despite this, a determined Mirai still decides that he wants to become the successor. One of the military snipers successfully hits Susumu, causing the others to flee from the scene. Gaku shoots his white arrow at Susumu, taking Susumu's acquired arrows and wings while Shuji watches in awe. Mirai, Saki and Yuri retreat back to Nasse and Manami's apartment. For his safety, Gaku shoots his red arrow at Shuji. After Nasse learns that Gaku is the last god candidate, Manami shoots her red arrow at Nasse. Mirai, Saki and Yuri are brought by Nasse and Manami to an emergency shelter. Nasse reveals that Gaku has won Nobel Prizes in physics and in literature after choosing to become a high school dropout in order to study on his own and avoid interpersonal relationships. Meanwhile, Shuji learns that Gaku agreed to become a god candidate so that he would possibly experience the afterlife. Gaku recalls that he first met Muni after he attempted to commit suicide via drug overdose due to the overwhelming publicity of his scientific research. Placed in a tough situation, Gaku agrees to lend a white arrow to Shuji after Aguro divulges that Nasse has the ability to directly interact with Mirai. The public greatly prefers Gaku over Yuri as the successor. The effects of Saki's red arrows wear off on Nasse and Manami. As per Gaku's request, Suzuki publicly announces that the new national stadium will be a secure venue for the god candidates to hold a meeting in 5 days. Mirai, Saki and Yuri discuss that now only 10% of the world population still believe in a divine entity. At night, Mizukiyo and Sayuri witness Mirai and Saki using their wings in the sky, though perceived as shooting stars. Gaku and Shuji enjoy a Chateaubriand during their feast with Suzuki. At sunrise, Mirai and Saki go on the rooftop of the tower block, where Saki confesses her love to Mirai. On the day of the meeting, Mirai, Saki, Yuri, Nasse and Manami arrive at the new national stadium, where Gaku and Shuji are waiting. Nasse tries to reason with Gaku, who reveals that he overcame his anthropophobia despite his arrogance. Thanks to an experiment previously conducted on suicidal people deep in the woods, Gaku has figured out a way so that the 5 remaining god candidates would die almost simultaneously without a successor being chosen. Believing that humans should decide how humanity ends, Gaku explains that all of humanity would lose the will to live due to the concept of time. With Nasse acting as a witness, Mirai and Gaku have a private conversation, while Saki, Yuri, Manami and Shuji temporarily leave the new national stadium. Mirai firmly desires to preserve happiness by saving human lives. This spurs mixed reactions from the public. Mirai gains the resolve to aim his white arrow at Gaku, while Saki, Yuri and Manami find themselves held captive by Shuji, who aims his white arrow at Saki. As Mirai realizes that humanity would face extinction due to scientific progress, Gaku explains that the future is already predetermined in the past, though Mirai believes that the future is the product of the present. After 28 seconds have passed, Mirai decides that he will not become the successor. Gaku calls out Mirai for being willing to forsake millions of lives in order to save Saki, though Mirai notes that Saki is the most important person to him. After another 28 seconds have passed, Mirai chooses to sacrifice himself for Saki as Gaku shoots a white arrow at Mirai. Nasse suddenly swoops in and saves Mirai from dying, though she is consequently demoted as a second-rank angel, while Masaya catches Mirai from plummeting to the ground. Meanwhile, Saki, Yuri and Manami deduce that Shuji may not have the resolve to kill someone who wants to live. When Masaya finally puts down Mirai on the ground, Gaku shoots his white arrow at Mirai, who is then saved by the timely arrival of Saki. Manami returns with Shuji at the new national stadium, but Yuri fails to initiate a sneak attack when Nasse swoops in to save Gaku. Nasse is surprisingly promoted as a special rank angel. It is revealed that Shuji previously released Saki, Yuri and Manami before lending his white arrow to Yuri. Although Gaku thinks that he is not a genius, the public says otherwise. As it is concluded that happiness can only be achieved through others, Gaku prepares to commit suicide. However, it is unanimously decided that Shuji will become the successor, thus ending the selection process. Upon consent, the memories of Masaya, Manami and Yuri are erased, while the memories of Mirai, Saki and Gaku are retained. Ascending into the celestial realm, where time moves slower than on Earth, Shuji realizes that God is beginning to fuse with him. Yuri is shown to be the assistant of Gaku, who is analyzing the effects of the red arrow that Shuji left behind, but to no avail. Deciding to run a flower shop that sells 4-leaf clovers, Mirai and Saki notably become an engaged couple before getting married at the church. Nasse tells Shuji that the other angels are worried about him. 6 years have passed on Earth, and the handful of people that Shuji knew are living happy lives. However, Shuji has an epiphany after seeing so many people greatly divided in socioeconomic status. Shuji then shoots himself with a white arrow. This causes the celestial realm and everything in it to gradually vanish. All living beings on Earth also gradually vanish, as Mirai and Saki accept their fate and die happily together. With Earth left as a barren wasteland, an endless number of unknown life forms from outer space primarily wonder if they should seed another god, though they ultimately declare that everyone desires death. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and put a like.